Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to this podcast, Season 6, Episode 43. My name is Tim Mitchell. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I am joined by Jonathan Kuline in Mississauga, Ontario.
Hello there, kids.
We also have Jaime Lopez Jr. on the line in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
Land of pollen. Yes. Land of early spring and lots of pollen. I thought pollen was in August, but I guess it's also in spring, right?
Well, when the trees bloom, Tim.
Is that, I'm thinking hay fever maybe in August when the hay comes ripe. Anyway. Alrighty. Well, we have some fact check from our friend of the show, Keen, today. I'm going to go through it real quick. Apparently, I said that Superman and Captain Marvel are alien people from another planet. Captain Marvel is, in fact, from Earth, according to Keen. She got her powers from an alien from another planet.
That is true.
And I asked about Thor being overweight, and when he got the axe, actually, from Peter Dinklage. I meant axe, but I said sword. He got the sword in Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, he got the axe when he was in the Infinity War is when he got that, but then he got fat the next movie.
So Jonathan mentioned it was in Endgame. That's half the answer. Thor got his axe from Dinklage in Infinity War to defeat Thanos, and he got fat in Endgame because of his depression.
Yes.
Oh yeah, because of the whole 5-year thing, right?
Yep.
JPK said that Skylar would eat the hero's brains, but in fact, it didn't actually. We don't really know they ate the brains per se, except that one of them all said to him, "Are you going to eat it?"
Well, we did see episodes where people had their heads removed and their brains missing.
Apparently, according to Keen, he would cut their heads open and look at their brains or examine their brains to steal their powers somehow without ingesting. I guess he didn't swallow. That's all that matters. Spock didn't use isolinear chips. He used microtapes, you fools. According to Keen. He forgot that was the case, but I guess he had to look it up. And then, so he was thinking, he's got a clip here for heroes. I guess we'll have to put that into the notes. Yeah, I think he mentioned that. He said, I was thinking the same thing while listening to the episode. I actually got that isolinear chips weren't used on TOS, but they used microtapes instead. Quick fact check, Tim. But yeah, rather than a Gen Z using an abacus, it's more like teaching a person from the Victorian era how to use an 8-track after they got used to Spotify.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking about this one. I think we have to remember that Starfleet Academy was so competitive that Wesley Crusher, boy genius on the Enterprise, didn't qualify once or twice, I think. He failed to get in on early access.
It's like trying to get a job at Apple, you mean?
Yes, it was super tough. So it's not like taking random person from that era. It's like, what if we brought, Ben Franklin or Isaac Newton to now? Would they be able to figure out, generative AI and iPhones? Probably, after a little bit of training. I think they'd be pretty quick to catch on. Subsistence farmer who never had any formal education and never had anybody, trying to grow that part of their abilities, maybe they'd struggle. I think that was the sort of nuance that I thought about. Discovery presumably has folks who've gone through academy and should be fairly adaptive. They've learned how to learn. But it would be interesting to see like the people who are like barely struggling to hang on. Was everybody totally cool with the transition and the change? I don't know.
Wait, are we still talking about 8 tracks?
Stop putting it in sideways. Look, it goes in one way. Obviously, it's not going to fit this way.
Yeah. Cool. Microtapes, really? I don't know. Yeah, he had these sort of square things. I guess I thought they were like magic, what do you call it? Like MagSafe kind of thingies or whatever, What do I know? All right, set to the headlines, and Jaime, you're up first.
Yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery has come up with what is officially titled Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum, to star Andy Serkis reprising his role as Gollum. But is it really, I don't know, Gollum 1? Is that what we can call this one? Rogue Gollum? I'm not sure what it is, but apparently it's to cover, like, what happened. Some crazy stuff that he described happened between losing the ring to Bilbo and then eventually sussing out that, a new Baggins had the ring and chasing, right? He ran into Shelob. He got captured by orcs and tortured and apparently screamed out Baggins in his pain. Like, I guess that's what they're going to fill in. Is that what you all are taking from this article?
Like this is the parts between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I make the Rogue One analogy of like, this is how the Death Star plans were
right. How they were
captured, stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the best that I got out of it, Jaime, is that it's basically like everything you wanted to know or didn't about what happened between those two events.
Right.
But it is exciting that it's Peter Jackson is back producing it, and Andy Serkis is going to direct and star in it. So the quality level will be high.
And we know New Zealand is going to stand in for Middle Earth.
I think that's a safe bet.
All those crazy tax dollars.
He says it's supposed to come out in 2026. So we're now into what we talked about a little bit when some of these deals started coming down, because we've got like the Rings of Power series happening on Amazon that is sort of a prequel set in the long distant past. We saw the Rise of Mordor in the first season. That's supposed to be coming back later this season, or this year rather. And we've got a new Lord of the Rings movie coming out this summer about the Rohirrim, the horse riders. And now we've got this. So we've kind of got like different people telling different stories using different platforms, but they're kind of all just sort of approaching it from different ways. And whether or not they're going to actually complement or contradict each other is going to be interesting too. Like, are we going to see, like at one point briefly in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, we see that Gollum is taken to Mordor and is tortured. Are we going to be like seeing how he was captured and taken to Mordor and tortured? And does that tie into like all the backstory of all the other stuff? Like, to me, it seems like it could get a little precarious as these things are happening concurrently and with cause and effect to each other.
No clue.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say trepidatiously interested in this.
But don't you think that like Peter Jackson could do like another movie franchise of some type? Does he have to always go back to? Well, mind you, he did do the King Kong redo, right?
Yeah,
after Lord of the Rings.
They do want money over there, so
Yeah,
I guess they think this is the best way to get it.
I guess, yeah. Well,
keep
like
rolling
Apple just made a new iPad, so I guess it's the same thing, right?
Well, that's it, right? It's basically everybody's, what's going to make us the most money? Oh, do the thing people already like? Cool.
Cool.
Maybe, there's other parts of the lore they haven't tapped. Like, remember the army of the dead that was cursed in the mountains that Aragorn went and said, all right, if you'll come fight for me and help us out, I will, as Isildur's heir, I will end the curse. You'll have paid your oath. It's very thin to do anything, but you could do like a miniseries on that. It would like show us how that happened. It is more than just the simple curse. They eventually have to sort of wither out, and you could show, passage of time as different generations see the scary ghost folks and how they start dwindling away. You could do something there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a ripe universe for telling other stories. That I guess the challenge is that so much of it is going to be in the prequel sense, right? So that's where it starts to get really kind of sketch where it's like, is this going to actually tell something without stepping on something else's toes, or how's this going to work?
Yeah. But then like the Rogue One analogy, is it something that can exist by itself? Does it need to exist at all? So I mean, Rogue One's a good movie without the connection to A New Hope, right? Because it's a MacGuffin, right? The Death Star plans are just a MacGuffin in that story, right?
Yeah, it does kind of presume that I don't know. It's a great question, Tim. Would Rogue One work as a standalone movie if you'd never seen the original Star Wars trilogy?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sort of does, because it doesn't really. If you think about all the bits and pieces in it, there's not really Jedis running around with lightsabers and stuff like that, and there are sort of stormtroopery kind of guys running around like the Empire and stuff. But that could be any megalomaniacal society that has an army of some type, right?
Yeah.
So it's a sort of,
it doesn't really give you a lot of foundation on the sort of the whole Force Jedi stuff. It kind of relies on you to know a little bit of that stuff.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like how it could be a standalone movie. Like I don't think you need to. Same with Andor. I mean, you don't need to have a lot of deep Star Wars knowledge to enjoy those two shows, right?
Yeah.
Those two vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people, I think the three of us agree that Rogue One is a good movie, irrespective of where it sits in the timeline, right?
Yeah. I would say as prequels go, the thing I admired most about it is that it was merciless, that they were like, this is a suicide mission. Yeah. That I think is what made the movie, because if they were like, well, we got to try and keep everybody alive because we're going to do a spin-off and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. The fact that they were like, yeah, the whole point of the story is that sacrifices have to be made for the greater good, right?
Yeah. The blind character is a Jedi though, right? Like
he's supposed to be a Force, somebody who's attuned to the Force, but he isn't a Jedi.
Does he have a high M count?
If only there was a way to tell these things.
Well, they're doing blood tests, I think, these days, aren't they?
Only on little kids.
Isn't there like a COVID test you can get at a drugstore, or M test you can get at the drugstore?
Well, before we digress too far, on the spirit of Lord of the Rings, we got some sad news this week that one of the stars of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy passed away. Bernard Hill, who was best known for his role as the King of the Rohirrim in the movies. What was it? Theoden in the Two Towers, and then he was in Return of the King as well. He passed away this week at the age of 79. I apologize, 79. He was also known for being the captain on James Cameron's Titanic. That was his other sort of major role that people know him for, although he was a working actor for his whole life, so appeared in all kinds of stuff. So yeah, sad obviously, but nice long life. So I guess it's hard to get too sad when people are dying in age appropriate ways.
Yeah. So how do you say the horse people's name?
The Rohirrim.
And what's the name of the place where they're from? I think it was Rohan or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the Riders of Rohan, and they are the Rohirrim.
Okay, yeah, because I just remember one thing that stood out for me in the Lord of the Rings book. I really enjoyed that section of the book with the horse people, the horse riders. And stuff.
But their names are a nightmare.
Yeah, but what is just so funny is they have 30 seconds in the movie. I mean, like the characters live on in the movie, but that whole section was quite long in the book. I remember, right? But
yeah, Two Towers was always my favorite of the books, and it was my favorite of the movies. And I really liked what they did with that stuff. Like it really felt like it looked like what I imagined in my mind. These big, vast open fields with the mountains around them. These thunderous groups of horsemen in their armor and everything. To me, that was bang on. So I was glad to see that, and even his portrayal, Bernard Hill's portrayal of Theoden, as this old sort of wrinkled king who's under the spell, and then as this sort of brave older warrior who sort of expecting to meet his demise, was great. I think that whole part was really well done, but even in the movies, when you could see them, it was still confusing as to who the hell they were talking about, because their names are all so alike.
Right.
All right, moving on, we've got some Marvel news. So today we found out that the Marvel Universe has gotten its Galactus. So we knew Galactus was going to be the sort of looming big bad in the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out, and they have cast Ralph Ineson as Galactus. Ralph Ineson's a name you don't know, but if you are a fan of genre stuff like we are, you probably have recognized his voice and his face. He's been in just all kinds of stuff, including the Harry Potter stuff. He was in, most recently in the Willow TV series that they did. He's got this great, deep voice, which I think is obviously perfect for Galactus. He's got this very sort of menacing, deep, throaty voice. So, so that'll be interesting to see. I don't know, obviously, you know, with these characters, you never know what they're going to do as practical, what they're going to do as costume, what they're going to do as, special effects or anything else. So we'll see how much of Ralph we actually see in the movie. But yeah, it's nice to know this is coming along. Obviously, we already got the casting news of who the Fantastic Four is going to be and sort of where it's going. But it's a pretty big role to fill. So cool.
So who are the Fantastic Four, just to fill that in?
So Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal is going to be Reed Richards, who's Mr. Fantastic. Vanessa Kirby is Sue Storm, or the Invisible Woman. Joseph Quinn, who's from Stranger Things. He was the long-haired Eddie in season 4 or 5, whatever that was, the most recent season. Yep. Yeah,
the English guy. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. He's going to be the Human Torch, and Eben Moss-Bacharach, who was on Andor and is on The Bear, and was on the Punisher TV show, is going to be Ben Grimm or The Thing. Oh, and we talked about Julia Garner is going to be Shalabal, but apparently they've said since then that she's going to be Shalabal, but as the Silver Surfer. So that's pretty cool. So a female Silver Surfer. So neat.
Yeah, his role in the Green Knight was definitely one that I think I didn't recognize when I had to Google him to see. I was like, oh yeah, he did a really bang up job in that one. He's a great character of the Green Knight. Very, very much. Probably fits the mold of Galactus. It's kind of an otherworldly kind of thing.
Like I say, it's for me, you know, I think he's got a physical presence because he's a big guy, but also it's his voice. He's got this just great, deep baritone voice. In the Willow the Willow TV series that you can no longer see anywhere, thank you Disney Plus, he is this captain of the guard kind of character who then falls onto the dark side, and he has this great whole part where he's starting to turn dark and his voice is getting darker and his becoming a little monotone, and his voice is really it just makes the villainy of it. It's just so great. Our next little Marvel bit is dedicated to Tim, the only person I know who owns an Apple Vision Pro. There is going to be a new what if immersive story coming from Marvel Studios and ILM Immersive exclusively for the Apple Vision Pro. So this is neat, but for 8 people. So it's the first ever interactive original story.
250,000 people, sorry.
Coming exclusively to Apple Vision Pro. You can step inside the multiverse and dive into, quote, an immersive, narrative-driven, and innovative story in mixed reality. So it's a neat idea. Obviously, very keen for someone I know who has one of these things to get it so I can see it. But they're basically going to do something like what we saw with what was the Black Mirror episode they did? Is it Bandersnatch?
Oh yeah, where you had to sort of
where it's kind of a choose your own adventure-y kind of immersive, like you see kind of what they're seeing kind of adventure. So a little choose your own adventure-y kind of, you're actually doing it where you look, what's happening around you. This could be really cool. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you want when you're experimenting with new technology. But so, okay, first question to you, Tim. Interested in this? Good use of the technology?
Yes, I'm interested in it. When's it coming out? End of the month?
Does it say?
I think end of the month. Yeah, I've heard some buzz about it, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So, because I saw it in the Vision Pro Slack channel that I'm on. And
the story seems to only say soon. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place, but I've only seen soon.
Yeah. Well, I saw it in let me.
In the meantime, Jaime, is this the killer app? Is this the one that gets you to want to get the Apple Vision Pro?
Not by itself, but I think, you got to start somewhere. And when Apple TV Plus initially came out, we're like, hey, $4.99, are you getting enough for the money? And then they kind of had to start somewhere. And now they've got a whole bunch of really good series and an actual back catalog. So, we'll check it in a couple of years, I think.
And that's a promise to you, good folks at Apple. Sometime in the next few years, Jaime's going to think about buying your product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if it's not the focus of your work, I could see why people aren't really jumping on it, right? So.
Yeah. Is there no banking applications for this yet, Jaime?
Not direct ones I can think of. Maybe somebody made an iPad app available or something, but it would be, kind of neat to see.
I've done banking on mine.
Yeah, but like an app that was specific for it, or just sort of
no.
You check the box and like, yep, iPad app is available on Vision Pro.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I think people should do the, Breaking Bad style fat stacks of cash to show you your balance.
Yeah. or not, yeah.
Yeah. Or show you the impact of, what happens if I buy this thing? Oh, man, that's a big hole in the stack. I don't know about this now.
You're thinking too small, Jaime. I'm thinking Gringotts Bank from Harry Potter.
Exactly. Like the pile of gold in the room.
You log into the banking app, and next thing you know, you're on like the roller coaster going down into the dungeons, past the dragon.
Yeah, and your credit card balance could be the room of requirement,
Yep. Couple trailers. So The Boys, we got a more fulsome trailer for the upcoming seasons coming in June. This week, it looks crazy. The problem with this show is that it's so good. It's so hard to keep topping itself. Like, how do you go bigger than the giant penis playset they had last season? The one where they're like crawling through the urethra, and I just don't know how they could top that. Although super powered chicken and goats from this trailer was pretty good. I love this show. I'm excited. The trailer made me more excited. Did you have any takeaways from this one?
No, it's interesting because they filmed part of the show down the street from my house, right? On Langley. Yeah, the house on Langley stands for one of the houses, and I'm not sure if can't be Vision. What's his name? The main guy.
Butcher?
Star. No, Star. The actor Star.
Oh yeah, that's Homelander.
Homelander, yeah, it's his wife's house or something like that. But anyway, because I saw the lady with the pink, I was told you with the purple or pink power suit, the one that makes people's heads explode. Spoilers for those of you who haven't watched the last 3 seasons. But because she was walking up and down the street, and so that must be for this season coming out, right? Because it was a while ago. It was like 6 months ago at least, or a year. No, I guess a year ago, right? It takes a long time to make this show. Crazy. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's a fun romp. I mean, it is a little over the top, like you said. It's
a
like
little.
The season. It's like the whole season is that the fifth episode from Three Body Problem, right? Like,
oh yeah. Like I say, the show has continually, each season has just pushed the envelope even further. The parts last season, the giant penis was a weird one.
Yeah.
The eat your friend scene with Homelander and the Deep was like one of the most hilarious and yet upsetting things I've ever seen on television. So good, that show. It's just so far out there. It's great. Jaime,
it has a story, folks, in case you're wondering. It does actually have a plot, and
it's not just gratuitous weirdness. It is excellently crafted weirdness. Jaime, what did you like out of this trailer?
I think the weirdest thing is going to be the Homelander on ice situation and why they feel that's necessary. Like that's a great one right there. That's
true. That was a little unnecessary, I think.
Oh, it's it's interesting. Although it's funny because the show has also done a pretty good job of reflecting American culture and politics,
and stupidity.
Well, yeah. It'll be interesting to see where the season goes, because there are a lot of parallels to the divisiveness of politics and stuff that are happening south of our border. It'll be interesting to see how far they push that envelope in an election year.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean, the envelope doesn't need any pushing this year, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just get a subscription to the New York Times. You can enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the Boys universe, we finally got a little clarity this week on what's going to happen with the spin-off series Gen V in light of the tragic death of Chance Perdomo, who was one of the lead characters who played Andre in the first season. He died tragically in March in a motorcycle accident. They were already sort of ramping up to do season 2. That's filmed out here, actually just down the block from my place, coincidentally. And I was kind of curious what they were going to do, because, he was a major character in the first season, and, are they going to recast? What are they going to do? So they've announced that they're not going to recast. They're going to write the character of Andre Anderson out of the show. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see how they do that delicately. Obviously, it's a weird thing to recast. Obviously, it's, it can be perceived as disrespectful. A lot of actors wouldn't necessarily want to have to step into someone else's role. But also writing a character out who's as central to the plot as Andre was in the first season is kind of weird too. So I'm not sure if this is a great thing or a bad thing, but obviously there's not a lot of wins in a situation where somebody that young and talented dies. So I guess they got to do the best they can. But they're supposed to start doing production this month, and the nice quote from them saying basically, we're going to pay respect to his memory, we're going to honor his legacy. So they're not going into this just wiping their hands of it. They are going to try and take care of it. But boy, that's a tough balancing act. Mm-hmm. A couple more trailers. So Star Wars, The Acolyte, got a much more sort of detailed trailer. We had seen a good trailer before, but it was much more just sort of like random scenes. This one sort of seems to be tying a little closer into like what we're actually seeing in the plot. Somebody out there is killing Jedi. They're trying to figure out who. We get to see a little more, lightsaber action. We get to see a little bit more of the deepening mystery. And we also found out that we're going to get both episode 1 and episode 2 right off the hop, so that's pretty exciting. Any takeaways from the two of you on this latest look at The Acolyte? Does it whet your appetite even more?
It looks pretty good. Yeah,
villain at the end has a kind of a cool mask, kind of a cool introduction, so that's got me intrigued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how much more they could hype. I mean, I was hyped up about this series to begin with. This one's like, put it in overdrive. Like, yes, please just funnel it directly into my veins. I would like to see The Acolyte now, please. So
mm-hmm.
The other trailer we got this week was a weird one, but kind of a cool one, which was this new Lego Star Wars series that is coming starting in September on Disney Plus. It's called Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, and it is a 4-part series. And it is going to basically, the premise is that in true Lego fashion, what if somebody shook the box and the pieces moved into different ways? And so, good becomes evil, up becomes down. Some worlds that were one way are now different ways. And the coup de grace of this trailer is Darth Jar Jar. So again, it's so obvious and it's so trite, but at the same time, it's damned funny. They are going all out on this. Ahmed Best is coming back to be Jar Jar. Mark Hamill's going to come back as Luke Skywalker. Like, this isn't messing around. Like, they obviously they're having some fun with the premise, but like, they're pulling out the big guns for this one. So, I don't know. I love Lego Star Wars. I love the games. I love the cartoon series. So I'm in the bag for this stuff. Tim, I know you're a little less of a fan. Are you interested in this?
The Lego stuff itself, and I'm not a fan. I just don't watch it. That's all. It's not the same thing as not being a fan.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing. If you like it but don't watch it,
it's just an opportunity. It's just it doesn't strike me as something I want to watch right now. I will probably watch it. I have watched these things before. It doesn't mean I'm not a fan.
These are the same spots that you would go into with like Jaime putting on the Paw Patrol on a Sunday afternoon. You put on some Lego Star Wars and do some cleaning.
No, but I've watched some Lego stuff before. But yeah, why would you think I wasn't a fan? That's weird.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know you're not as big on the, like, kiddie sort of younger aimed cartoons.
Yeah, I don't know how you ever got that impression.
All right. Jaime, are you interested in this one?
I probably will end up watching this one. The trailer's pretty intriguing with the Ewok bounty hunters and the Darth Jar Jar Binks. They definitely give a good intro of Misa going to hurt Yusa. His eyes going red.
Yeah, I wonder if this is all just fan service. It's a way to give people the inevitable death of Jar Jar they've been asking for 25 years.
You think?
I mean, yes. I think there's a lot of people, especially over the age of, we'll say, 45, who would happily see Jar Jar demised in any way. Last thing for me is just a picture, but it's a cool picture. We got our first look this week at David Cornsweet, who is the new Man of Steel, Superman. We got our first little picture sent out, looking at what he looks like with his Superman gear on and his hair done with the little swoopy S in the front. Damned if he doesn't look like Superman. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's hard to see. Well, it's not. You're not. Oh, this is who is he in? He said Rachel. Oh, Rachel Brosnahan is playing Lois. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. I guess so. It doesn't have the big chin like they got in the illustration here, but
I like. I don't know. I was happy with Henry Cavill. I thought Henry Cavill was a great Superman.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah. He did have a bit. Henry Cavill did sort of have some of that. I mean, he played the innocence of Superman well, right? Yeah, I thought the one before him was a bit silly.
Yeah,
it's no longer with us, Yeah,
it is kind of a non-traditional choice for your first photo. Superman getting up in the morning before his coffee. Yeah.
So I got to figure it out now. I was thinking about this the other day. As I saw that photo, I was thinking, so he puts this outfit on and then he puts on a suit over the top of it so that he can have it under, so he can like rip it off as he goes. How does he fit the shoes over the boots?
Well, see, I always thought that when he ran into the phone booth, he was just so super fast that he could change really quick, and not like, because you're right. In the cartoons and stuff, they kind of show him ripping off his office shirt and he's got the S, but that could also be a tattoo on his chest for all we know, right? But and that could be his skin texture. Who knows? But I always thought that the running into the booth or phone booth, and then you see a little hurricane, and he switches around to his super suit and then jumps out and does the Neo leap into the sky thing. That's how because doesn't Christopher Reeve do the same thing? He kind of just steps away for a second and he's Superman.
Yeah, we never really saw him go into the phone booth like the old comic books and cartoons and stuff like that, right?
And then he jumps out of a window, right?
Yeah. I think everyone's going to have to take second place to Linda Carter's spin around in a circle while your clothes just magically fly off, Wonder Woman from the 1970s.
Right. Yeah, right.
Well, can't wait to see more.
We'll see, yeah. I mean, but yeah, you're right. It is odd seeing him putting his shoes on, because he does that at super speed and you don't really ever see it, right?
Yeah.
How did Benoist do it in Supergirl? I forget now.
She did the opening the blouse thing to show the S thing too. I think it was it's like an homage, right? So
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. One more, honey.
Yeah. Keep an eye on this sort of thing. So at least in the States, and maybe you all had this already. So Disney Plus has Hulu as like a tile. So if you have access to both, if you got the bundle, or I guess even if you're subscribing separately, you can access Disney Plus content, and then right next to it you can access Hulu content. They're going one more, kind of the logical steps. Disney Plus soon will have an ESPN Plus tile inside of it, and US subscribers will get access to, quote, select live games on ESPN. So it's not exactly a cut the cord replacement for, live sports through ESPN, but it's approaching that direction. And it is sort of rebundling the cable bundle, which I think many folks have pointed out in the comments.
So this seemed inevitable, right? Like, this is all just synergy. We own this thing. We also own this other thing. So we may as well do all these things together.
Yeah. And because it sort of recombines things into a bundle, and not just I go into Disney Plus, I watch Disney Plus, I back all the way out to the home screen, I go into Hulu, watch Hulu, back all the way out, and then same thing for ESPN Plus. They're making it easier to, cross over between these various previous silos that are now unified content libraries.
Well, it's also, Apple does the same thing with those sports things that they do. They have the soccer thing and the baseball thing, right?
Yeah. Fairly similar in concept. I think some folks online are getting a little too wrapped around the axle around the rebundling of cable. I don't think the bundle was the problem necessarily with cable. I know it got a lot of attention because people say, hey, I would pay for this one channel, but I got to pay for like 500 other channels I don't care about, right? Like, I get that. I'm not totally discounting that. But I think some of the bigger problems that occurred with cable that the streaming unbundling broke away from and hopefully will not return to is, there was no innovation in terms of quality of life features, right? DVR didn't exist pre-streaming. You didn't have, not like through your cable provider. Yes, there was TiVo, but like that wasn't innovation by the Comcasts or the Time Warners of the world, Spectrums of the world, right? It was like this other thing. And I think the other thing was the complete and utter disregard for customer service, right? Every one of these streaming services, you can be sitting on your toilet, you can be walking the dog, you can wake up in a panic in the middle of the night, and you can just press the unsubscribe button and you're done. Don't have to get on the phone. You don't have to wait for 45 minutes. You don't have to have the poor customer support agent who's getting hammered for sell. Make sure you don't let anybody leave.
Upsell you all the time. Yeah.
Right. Like,
don't quit.
We'll
give you 3 months free. Yeah.
You don't have to deal with any of that. So, the innovations in quality of life stuff, hopefully the streaming bundles will continue to maintain those, and hopefully they won't cross the line of like, well, now you got to call somebody. Now you got to have some poor schlub desperately try to give you 6 months of HBO Max for free to keep you on your current bundle, sort of thing.
Like, that was the pain. This is a bundle thing. You have to pay extra for the ESPN feature.
Yeah, but it's like, buying the burger combo where it's somewhat more expensive, but for 50 cents more, why don't I just get it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, are you going to get it, Jaime?
Not for what they're describing as, if it had ESPN and could give you more of that, it was more properly a cable subscription replacement for ESPN. Sure, they have shown more and more stuff on ESPN Plus, but it isn't as much of the premium stuff of like, I'm just going to watch the regular shows. I'm going to watch, I don't think they have the NFL games and other premium sports games through ESPN Plus. I could be wrong on that. But when it becomes like straight up, okay, you don't need cable, you can just straight up watch ESPN through the ESPN Plus tile on Disney Plus, I might go ahead and add that.
So I'm curious. There was a story here in Canada last week. Last week. About a deal between Rogers Communications, who owns the rights to NHL hockey, and Amazon. So Rogers sold the exclusive rights to Monday night NHL games to Amazon last week for the final 2 years of their existing contract with the NHL. So apparently, forgetting that there's a thing called the NFL, Amazon invested in a Monday night product where they are going to show streaming exclusive, like if you want to watch this game, you can't watch it on Rogers, you can't watch it on TSM, which is our ESPN, you have to watch it on Amazon. And this is an interesting move. This is the first time that one of the sort of big four, and I'm hesitant to use the NHL as a fourth in that big four, but they are, that one of them has put exclusive content on a streamer like that.
Right.
I'm wondering if this is a foot in the water for the rest of them.
Might very well be. I was here in the States. I was one of the people who refused to pay for Peacock in order to get access to one of the NFL playoff games.
Yeah.
They broadcast, I think, the first quarter on NBC, and then if you wanted to watch the rest of the game, you had to go over to Peacock. And I refused to do that. But guess what? It absolutely was a smash hit for them. It was the most downloaded app that month because of that 1 week, really that one day. And they made so much money, probably directly, and then just people hanging around with the subscription. They're doubling it down. They're doing even more of that this year. So vote with your wallet. And guess what? All of you all did. Not me. It's real clear. I voted against this, and people decided otherwise.
So I got to say, though, Jaime, your track record of voting with your wallet isn't that great.
My wallet's not big enough, apparently.
Because he always says that on More Than Just Code, and a lot of times things just, take off like a shot. I mean, I don't know. But I do remember we talked about that was a few years ago. That was when Paramount or when Peacock first came out. It was sort of an incentive to get the app downloaded, right? Yeah,
they've tried and struggled with that, and they struck gold with the NFL. It's literally one game. It is a very important game in the knockout tournament of the playoffs. So that's why it worked. But so I have NFL Sunday Ticket. It gets me almost every game that I want. Things that are on Thursday night are exclusive to Amazon. So thankfully I have Prime for that.
Okay.
Now it's like, I guess if I don't want to miss a game, I better get Peacock too. And then you got to figure everybody else get on it as well. No, I'm good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to go back on a comment you said about you were talking about cable switching over to streaming and stuff like that. And you mentioned something about which reminded me that back in the day, we all started with like 13 channels, and then UHF came along. We added a few more channels to our dial. This is when you had to get up and actually turn the channel. And, I'm sure my sisters and I remember being the remote control for my dad, right? And as most kids in my age did. But then cable came along, and that was the way because we used to always have these really bad, you'd get really bad reception depending on where the channel was coming from. Jonathan, you probably remember from the cottage, right?
Oh, yes.
And then cable came along, and then all of a sudden you got a clear signal, right? And that, again, added more channels to the mix, right? And then what reminded me about technology, we were talking about the TiVo, was that, the next thing that came along, and this is outside of what the actual broadcast stations were doing as a service, these cable boxes came out, and they were like, you might remember these when you were a kid, John, and they were like a box that had a bunch of buttons, like maybe 30 buttons, and it had an up and a down. And if you want, instead of going to getting the kid to go to the thing, you had this cable that came across the room, and you had this box, which is about the size of it's like about the size of an iPad, but like a stack of iPads, if you think about it that way, with the buttons across the top. And that's how you change channels. And it wasn't until, and that was around for a long time, until we started seeing set-top boxes. And I think TiVo was one of the first ones to do that, right? Because then we went to VHSs, right? Because VHS was how you used to, you'd have a remote control and.
It wasn't until the mid-'80s that we started to see televisions that came equipped with an actual
cable.
remote control.
Yeah, they had the
remote control
on the back. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I remember my grandparents had one of those set-top boxes in the early 80s, and just thinking, because we didn't get cable till I was a teenager, I remember thinking, like, this is the future. Like, what have we got at home? So, what came to those nights where it was like, oh, we're going to go over to Grandma and Grandpa's, I'd be like, great, I'll be downstairs with their 65 channels that, we
nothing
only
to watch. That's the I love the line from Pink Floyd's song, there's 13 channels of poop on the TV to watch, but nothing to choose from, right?
Yeah, for sure. I ended up watching a lot of movies when I was over there visiting, just because they were clear. Like, for the first time ever, I could see these things that weren't like, snap, crackles, and pops. So that was a big deal.
True. Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting time.
Yeah.
Cool. But But I also, speaking of technology, I want to talk about this story that came up, and I hadn't really sort of thought about the backlash of this until Jaime started posting it on our Slack channel, and that was we were having a discussion with Mark actually on More Just Code chat, but that Apple just introduced the new iPad, a series of iPads, the OLED iPads, the new iPad Air 12-inch or 13 inches, they're calling it, and now they had this commercial that they always do, like a highly produced commercial and as to sort of roll out the new product. And they were talking about the iPad Pro, which is the new fancy, OLED and really great colors and stuff like that. And what they did was they had this giant, I don't know what you call it, a compactor thing. And they had stacked up, pianos and trumpets, and they had a metronome going, and they had cans of paint, and they had photo lenses. And they basically crushed all that stuff. The analogy was, they're crushing all this, this fine art into, or fine art making things, music and artwork into this iPad Pro. And, the thing lifts up and they pull the iPad out and look at, isn't this amazing kind of thing. But it was a huge backlash today. In fact, it even made it onto the news today. Initially, we were chatting about it with Jaime and Mark earlier today. And, to me, it was kind of, Jaime was asking, like, it's kind of ridiculous at this backlash, but, and I thought, well, yeah, I was a little upset when I saw like things like metronomes and trumpets and, pianos and whatever getting crushed, because those are, and guitars, because those are obviously, they're tools that are used to create great creative works, and, for whether they're going to the dump or afterwards or not, it's kind of shocking to see that, right? But then again, for the sake of art, and for the analogy of what goes into an iPad, or what an iPad, you have in your hand, kind of thing, it made sense as an analogy, right? But the backlash is around the concept of AI stealing the creative juices of people. I mean, people are, I think, AI gets more credit than it deserves, to be honest with you, where we are today in state of AR, because it's just large language models that are just repeating what we all can do already. But what do you guys think about? Jaime has some thoughts probably on this. What did you think about that, Jaime?
Yeah, I think it maybe says a lot about how solid the Apple event itself was, that people really didn't complain about anything from the event itself. I'm guessing everybody's very happy with the iPad Air and iPad Pro. So they had to glom onto something. There has to be some controversy, right? Some reason for internet outrage. And apparently in this era of generative AI and general meta concern about, people losing jobs and stuff, somebody said, I have found an angle. I'm going to be upset because it's destroying these things we love. I'm like, really? Are you therefore going to be anything except an awful hypocrite? Are you going to keep your iPhone, or are you going to toss it away, get yourself an iPod, a dumb phone, and some separate internet communicator, and then duct tape them together? You're going to carry around, a really great camera as well? You're going to carry around a voice recorder? You're going to carry around those other things? I'm like, no, you're not. The whole point was, look at this stuff. It's smushing together into this one singular device. Right. I don't think it was we took these things from your childhood and we destroyed these priceless artifacts that can never be seen again.
Yeah.
I just heard Indiana Jones say they belong in a museum.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and some stars are jumping on this is stealing our thunder kind of deal, right? Have you seen the commercial, John? What do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tricky one. I mean, the one argument is obviously they destroyed these things. They shouldn't have destroyed them just for a commercial. Okay, fine. I get that. So you know what? Write a check, buy some instruments for some kids or something. That's a piece of cake. As far as, the integrity of it, you know what? I have heard stories from my kids who are both adults who talk about like the amazing things that are being done by people in their generation just using their phones, the music, the video, the creativity that it sparks to have access to what, for either any of the three of us, when we were kids, like if you got 20 minutes with a camcorder, you felt like a god. Like to have the availability to be creative and express yourself in your pocket is an incredible gift. And I think maybe we're just being a little too hypersensitive about how these things, are evolving so quickly. But I don't think it's a bad thing. Like,
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
when I was a young reporter, one of the pieces of advice I got from a veteran was never leave your house without a notebook and a camera. Doesn't matter what kind of camera. Obviously, it'd be great if you could bring a great one, but never go out without something that can capture a picture, and never go out without a notepad so you can write down details if something happens. And I was like, that's good advice. And so for years in the 90s, I drove around with always, no matter where I was going, I always had a point and shoot camera and a notepad and a pencil. You never bring a pen in Canada. You always bring a pencil because pens freeze. And I thought that was great advice. And then, of course, technology catches up. Here we are 35 years later, and I don't need any of that stuff. I've got an iPhone in my pocket. Yeah. As long as the battery doesn't freeze, which it does, you can do almost all those things carrying this kind of device now, and it's pretty remarkable. And it's made for some of the breaking, like we wouldn't have the videos of the planes hitting the buildings on 9/11. We wouldn't have some of these things if this technology didn't exist. And the number of times that, like, even just my kids recreationally have just been like, I'm going to take this out, I'm going to make a movie, or I'm going to use this application to create a little game, or like, I think people are being just a little too precious about the method, the medium versus the message, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's not about the medium. It doesn't matter if you have an actual physical trumpet in your hands or if you have an app that sounds like a trumpet, if your whole reason is to create beautiful music. And just because you think that it has to be done one way doesn't mean that everyone thinks that way.
True. Well, this just in, Apple's apologized for the commercial.
I can't believe this has so much, legs underneath it. I'm like, I can't believe that a named person.
Hugh Grant, yeah. Let's name him. Hugh Grant. What are you going to say, Jaime?
No, I was trying to figure it as Tor Myron, Apple's VP of Marketing Communications, was named as apologizing.
Yeah. It says creativity is in our DNA at Apple, and it's incredibly important to us to design products that empower creatives all over the world. Our goal is to always celebrate the myriad of ways of users express themselves by bring their ideas to life through an iPad. We missed the mark with this video, and we are sorry. I don't know. I thought it was fun. It was creative and interesting and colorful. I mean, how they timed the exploding paint cans and the little emoji guy with the eyes popping out. It was pretty funny. Got to laugh with the crowd. I was watching in a room with like 250 people, and it got a laugh. I mean, people thought it was an interesting thing. And mind you, we're all the Apple faithful, right? Because we were at an iOS conference, or at a Swift conference. But Yeah. Oh, well. That said, Tim Cook apparently was wearing a pair of Nikes in the thing that were created using an iPad. And I posted a link here for you guys to have. This just came out. Just got this article today, but I read about this just before we started the show. That part of one of the commercials they showed, I guess, during the rollout of this thing was used to design these Nike shoes. Which, in fact, Tim Cook, you can see him wearing them on the broadcast.
All right,
I didn't notice that.
There you go.
The design is definitely kind of a blend. It's kind of got a retro thing, right? With the I don't know, seeing the actual rainbow colors like that in a largely off-white shoe definitely feels kind of an older era. So retro.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know where Nike stand today, but wasn't there like mom jean commercials back in the day about your mom's Nikes? Am I misremembering that?
No, it's not ringing a bell, but could be.
I just remember I think about it like a Reebok commercial or something like that. And where is Reebok today? Never mind. This is where we talk about something Star Trek related. And this time we're talking about Discovery Season 5, Episode 777. I'm doing an echo because we watched it last week. And I did watch it again today, just to recap myself. But this was episode Erigah, which we talked about last week, was leaked on Wednesday, a full 8 days ago. And Jonathan and I both watched it, and then it disappeared. But what was interesting, though, when I went back to the Paramount app today to watch it, it had said you've already seen this. So Obviously they knew that. I guess the little flag that says stores whether you have watched the show or not. I guess it's Core Data or Swift Data or maybe Firebase. I don't know. Something's persisting the fact that we watched it, but we did watch it. So here you go.
Yeah, it was very fun when they're like, brand new episode, check it out. I'm like, it says here I watched it already. So clearly you knew.
Well, it didn't even like on Paramount. They have the newly added banner that you see above, like you have the little badges on the iPhone. It didn't. I noticed that it didn't have that on the main menu when I got there. Just saw Michael Burnham looking at me over her shoulder. Yeah, and no new tag on it. So well. So my elevator pitch is. Didn't I see this already?
Yeah, deja vu. I'm going to read you both of mine because I had one that I wrote last week in case it persisted, and then I've got a new one that I added that was more appropriate since not everybody got to see it. So, so last week what I wrote was a time bug has infected the servers at Paramount Plus, and only the intrepid team at Spockcast can help solve the riddle of the missing Discovery episode.
Yep.
But actually, what it was an old Romulan saying goes, never turn your back on a Breen, but it turns out facing them isn't much better.
True. I mean, what's your elevator pitch?
I couldn't get away from this one that doesn't really do that great of a job of recapping its lax mean Breen machine.
Yeah.
It's sort of the key to all of this that happened and where we're going for the next episode.
In my back pocket, I got to admit, Jaime, I was with you. I had Breen.
It's not easy being Breen.
Yeah, you really didn't have to go too far to find a few good ones with the introduction of the.
I would have fit with the Jim Henson comment last week too.
Yeah, really. This was I mean, last week it was a good episode. It's good episode this week too. The it starts to come to a head a little bit, right? Last week was a little bit of a digression. We had the marathon of death and a little more sort of character focused. This one was a little more sort of stuff's happening. All the characters are there. Things are going on. Yeah,
I gotta say though, they phoned in the discovery of the next hint at the very end, right? Or have they not got the next hint yet?
No, they figured out where it is, so now they have to go track it down, right?
Okay,
right. Yeah, but yeah, they always obviously have an A and a C, a B and a C plot. The A plot was the Breen have arrived. They want Maul and Locke, and they're going to kill the Federation if they have to get them. The B is, how are we going to solve this? Missing puzzle piece. That's got to be our priority. And then within that, there was a few sort of other little C plots, the whole sort of book and mall thing. I personally was most interested in the Jet Reno was an antiquarian part of the story. I thought she, as always, stole every scene she was in and was the funniest part of any episode. So
yeah.
But it was kind of a bit of a mix of pew pew and but we're also trying to solve this puzzle. But you're right, it kind of didn't make for the sexiest trying to solve the puzzle episode.
And there was also the Maul and Locke kind of tragedy, as it were. Them trying to escape and and it goes wrong for them, right? Or it goes wrong for Locke. Yeah.
We never, I'd like Jaime to give us credit where credit is due. We did not spoil the death from this episode last week.
True.
Not even on our Slack channel or spoiler channel. We just avoided it entirely. But that was a bit of a weird twist. I must admit, I did not see Locke dying because... Yeah,
but it does raise a big question. Should I hold my big question for the big question section, or...
Probably. All
right, let's do that.
But yeah, it did kind of, obviously now there's, Maul can go scorched earth and we see her do that. She obviously throws the Federation under the bus and now we know the Breen are sort of going after the same thing they are. And so now there's an even higher urgency than there was when it was just these two, crooks trying to get this stuff. Now it's existential threat time, right?
Yeah.
Do either of you know how many episodes there are this last season? I meant to look it up and I didn't have a chance.
I thought it was 10, but I didn't go look at anything authoritative. I just asked Google Star Trek Discovery Season 5 how many episodes, and it said 10.
Well, it says 65 total, so let's see. It looks like we have 10. And we have names too now.
All right, so realistically, we've only got 3 episodes to go, so that definitely will explain why they stepped it up a notch in this one.
Yeah, well, let's say want to do like a Bad Batch kind of ending, right? So pew pew. There's lots of pew pew in this one. There was the fights between Non and Null, right? Null, the escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that scene was probably my favorite, just because I thought that the close quarter fight inside of the medical bay.
Yeah.
And, they did a couple of neat camera effects with the smoke and then the slow-mo and stuff like that. I thought that was well done.
Plus, they had the personal cloaking device thing. Even though we didn't see, when the scene where she disappears for a minute and then she kind of hits Non, right? Because when she and Non are fighting, Non's kind of like, where did she go?
Yeah.
So, and the security people and the part where they're wrestling for the phaser and it fires towards the camera, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's fun.
Yeah,
but even in the recap, like I said last week, they had a bit of the Burnham flipping Locke over her, over her head kind of thing, judo kind of move, right?
Yep.
Or Krav Maga, whatever it's called.
Krav Maga, yeah.
Yeah.
For Easter eggs, there was a couple of good ones, I thought. At one point, when Tarina is trying to talk about how they're going, what kind of techniques they can use to stall the Breen, she says, well, what she chose is better than a tribble infestation. And I thought, oh, why does that ring a bell? And I looked it back up at our good friends at Memory Alpha, and it's because tribble infestation was one of the scenarios from an episode of Lower Decks.
Right.
So the one where they're doing, they're trying to get the scores. They're trying to get the scores on the holopad, stuff like that. So one of the drills that they do is called tribble infestation. So, yeah.
Which is a callback to the original series too. But yeah,
of course.
I do remember that being used as an excuse or something like that at one point, right?
Yeah. And the other one that was another callback was they talked at one point, one of the quotes from Maul is, "Nice try, sell me a goat farm on Bopak 3 while you're at it." And I thought Bopak 3 rang a bell, and I was like, okay, I'm looking that one up. And Bopak 3 was from a DS9 episode called Hippocratic Oath, where they go into So that's where a Dominion ship has crash landed on this planet, and there's only one survivor, and they rescue him and they bring him back. And basically it's the ethical one. Should they keep this guy alive? Do they keep, he needs this white. What do they do? But yeah, again, just a weird sort of seemingly random line, but actually is a reference to something that was all tied together with DS9.
And there was one more really far throwback. I don't know if you caught it or not. I didn't catch it last week, but I caught it this week when I was rewatching it. And it's a person I've actually met and had them sign a poster in my basement. So they talk about the ship, the Mitchells.
Oh, yeah.
And Mitchell is the character. Gary Mitchell is the character that Gary Lockwood played in the episode called "Where No Man Has Gone Before," which was the third broadcast episode. But I think it was actually the first episode filmed, but for the new series, or for the after the pilot, I should say, after the cage, right?
Yeah,
that's a real far throwback.
That's some deep cuts.
Mm-hmm.
I threw in my Easter egg hunt. I threw in the Badlands, which saw their appearance in DS9 and Voyager. So kind of a reasonable place for people to hide. The Maquis were hiding in both series, and so this archive apparently has chosen that as its next 50 years location. I think they said they moved every 50 years.
Yep.
Oh, really? Cool. What'd they say, John?
Well, yeah, some good ones. Again, Jet gets the winner as usual. But when Burnham is talking to Admiral Vance at the beginning of the episode, and she just sort of launches into a little bit of a tirade, and he says, "By all means, Captain, speak freely." That was just a fun line from his very dry perspective. When Locke is talking about the Breen coming to collect him, he says, "Do me a favor, when my uncle gets here, spit in his face for me." I was like, "Ooh, that's." Jet Reno, when talking about the Breen, it's the whole faceless helmet vibe. Truncheons, jackboots. Where's the nuance?
Yeah,
she's great. She's just so great. Then the last one I had was the line from Maul. "Nice try. Sell me a goat farm on Bopac 3 while you're at it." That was another just funny throwaway line with a little Easter egg inside.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, you mentioned never turn your back on a Breen, the Romulan saying quoted by Rayner. I had that one in there.
Yep.
I didn't write down exactly what Tilly said, but I paraphrased it as, "But I need to go to the spin-off show. I mean, the cadets. I need to worry about the cadets in the hallway with Stamets."
Yeah, when she's leaving. Yep. Yeah, they're on Starbase, right? So.
Oh yeah, the Federation headquarters. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the fact when I was thinking about this, when the dreadnought takes off at the end there, I'm like, why isn't there a repercussion? And all of the ships in the station kind of just jiggle for a second as this giant mast pops away.
I like the comment that was made. I can't remember. I think maybe it was Reese, somebody on the bridge, where they're like, scan, and he's like, "Our scans can't even penetrate their shields."
Right.
Like, that's when you know you're really in tough sledding. Is hey, wait a minute. Not only do we, see this like massive ship on the horizon, but we can't even scan it to see what's going on there because it's so stacked.
Big, yeah. Well, they did at one point know that they were firing. They had torpedoes pointed at them or something, right? Because they did at one point. They said they're arming something.
Yeah.
And then again, the whole new crew on the ship or on the bridge, right? Which is so odd, considering the nature of this show has always been, we only have these 5 people on the first string of crew, and we never go to anybody else, right? Although they did in the original series, they kind of switch people out, but yeah.
Well, those red-shirted guys aren't going to, just grow themselves on a farm somewhere or something.
Well, I know. I mean, like, even Chekhov and Sulu weren't regulars, right? They were kind of, they became regulars, but they weren't initially, right?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So, big questions. I have a question.
You said you got a good one. All right, let's bring it.
Well, I kind of wonder, so the MacGuffin in this, for the Breen in this one, was that Locke actually was in the bloodline a direct descendant of the Emperor, right? Which is why the people who want to become Prime, I forget what it is, Prime something, the Prime guy, right?
Primarch.
Get a word for it. Sorry. Primarch? Yeah. The one who's going to become the leader of the entire Breen. A bunch of different factions are vying for this. And that's why they want Locke to be, on their board, as it were, their board of governors or board of directors or whatever, because he's actually got the blood of the Emperor in it. So, and he says to Maul as he's dying, "You'll be okay," right? Is she pregnant?
I mean, it was the big reveal in this one was that after Locke dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
She says, "Well, you can't just, leave without me. We're married," and shows off this sort of brand that she's got, right?
That matches his, yeah.
That signifies that they're, I guess, Breen wed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be an interesting twist, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Because
they kind of hint that that she has a certain amount of power because she's his wife, and that's why they decided to take her along as Locke.
It's an abomination too,
yeah. But yeah, that actually would make a lot of sense. They also say that there's a possibility that the progenitor's tech could bring someone back to life.
Yeah, which is why she's trying to get back there. Yeah,
but I do think it would be weird if Locke was brought back to life, but it wouldn't be weird if he was gone, but she has his baby. So I think that's a really good thought, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Although the Picard technology could bring people back to life, apparently, right?
Just depends on which end of the galaxy you're on at any given time.
Yeah, and what part of the timeline, yeah. Cool. Any other big questions?
I had a couple. So first, just a simple one. Is there a cooler name than the Eternal Gallery and Archive? Like, that is just, I mean, I want to work there. That's awesome.
And it's like the pink sea snail. It keeps moving around, right?
That's right. So this episode saw the return of Non, right? So Non is this character that was, part of the crew back when. She had since gone off to go work for sort of intelligence, I guess, for Federation intelligence or Starfleet intelligence. I found myself thinking at the time, obviously there's reasons plot-wise and character-wise why you have Callum Keith Rennie as Rayner play the new number one. It creates conflict and it brings some new stuff to the mix. But wouldn't Non have been a much cooler number one?
Mm-hmm, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like she was kind of already kind of a little bit gruff and not afraid to do things her own way. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, the plot's told the way it's told because of the reasons of the plot, but I just found myself looking at her and thinking, oh God, yeah, she would have been a great number one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. But there we have it.
3 to go.
Yeah. My one big question I had was related to Jet Reno, where it came to my attention, like, wait, what would it be like knowing that everyone you've slept with has been dead for centuries? Because they briefly mention, getting around or something. I forget what the exact.
And also that, yeah, she says.
Yeah, and also that. So it's like, oh, yes. So it took me off in a weird direction of like, yeah, what would it be like? I don't know. This is not a normal part of the human condition.
True.
I think she'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking there's a few people she wouldn't want to run back into, given the kind of lifestyle she seems to have lived.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So is moving on, is Tales of the Empire on already?
Yeah, so it debuted on May the 4th on Star Wars Day last week.
Right.
6 episodes, 3. It's a little different than Tales of the Jedi last year, which was sort of went back and forth. It was like one about Ahsoka, one about Dooku, back and forth. This one was 3 straight about Morgan Elspeth, and then 3 straight about Barra Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing you didn't watch it then?
I did not.
Should we hold that for next week then?
Yeah, I haven't seen those either. Are they quick and bingeable? I figure they were probably 15.
The whole run is like an hour and 20 minutes. They're like 15 minutes a piece ish.
Well, I'm on season 3, episode 5 of Succession, so I've only got like 14 to go.
Yeah. It's I will just very non-spoilery say the animation level is continuing to be very impressive. The stuff that they're doing with Star Wars animation, I really felt like Tales of the Jedi was a step forward last year, and this continues it. It looks like even better than Bad Batch, better than Clone Wars and Rebels. There's some really cool animation in there, and I particularly liked the Barra-Sophie stuff, so I'll be curious to hear what you both think about that. I thought it definitely will reward people who have seen all of the sort of animated stuff over the years, because, you know, Barris was a pretty prominent character in Clone Wars in obviously her story arc, but yeah, it definitely has an interesting and satisfying storyline in here of sort of what becomes of her in the wake of Order 66. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that in the future.
Mm-hmm. In the future. Ooh, tricky.
This is now substituted for my watch list. Go watch Tales of the Empire.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so what do you got on your watch list?
This one kind of blends more than just code and Spotcast. So it's the iPhone 15 Precision Find Your Friends ad. Came out apparently 6 days ago, where you've got folks who are, you know, going to like a Star Wars convention or a Comic-Con or similar. You got the main character dressed up in Mandalorian armor, struggling to find their friends in the big crowd, and using the wonderful Find My device to wade through all of the other Mandalorians out there until they find their tribe. It's cute, it's quick, it's interesting, you know.
It's long overdue. I'm down.
Yeah.
As somebody who has lost his, again, I'd like to preface this by saying adult. I've lost my adult children from time to time at these events, and other family members, Tim. But yeah,
they have to share their location. They have to actually turn that on, right? So
that would be crazy.
Yeah. So that's why it's not. This feature's going to fail. You know?
What teenager would ever do that? I don't want my parents to know where I am. That's ridiculous.
100%. I used to know someone I lived with who never used to turn her phone on. Remember that? Those days?
Yes, I do.
So, you know, behind me, the backstory is Carol used to go, you know, she still does go fabric shopping, right? And she just walks out the door and says, I'm going fabric shopping. And then her sons would call me and say, do you know where mom is? I'm like, I just start laughing. Like, you got to be kidding me. She's going fabric shopping. And they go, oh, God, no. You know? Yeah. Still does that. I'm just going to go buy a zipper. And 5 hours later, the dogs are like, you know, pining at the door.
Yeah.
Anyway, did I mention I'm watching Succession?
And only Succession?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Like it's like I've been binging like 3 episodes a day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that good? I actually the flight I went to Chicago last weekend for a conference, and it's an hour-long flight, and so I got a message from I always upload a few apps or a few movies to my phones and stuff, my phones and my iPads, and fortunately for me, I had put a couple of episodes of Succession onto my devices, and then when I got to the airport, the Wi-Fi wasn't working on the devices, which meant they have this personal, you know, they don't have like they have this thing where you can watch movies on the thing using their onboard Wi-Fi. If you don't pay for it, I guess it saves them on having to have, I don't know what it saves them, but to be honest with you, but I guess it's a feature to upsell the airline. This is United Airlines, by the way. And then on the way home, we got thunderstormed and tornado warning into delays, and then again, I got on the plane and there was absolutely no screen on the plane. So thankfully I had my episodes of Succession to watch. So, yep. And it is good. I mean, it's a modern day Game of Thrones, essentially.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way to put it. Right. So, and it kind of, it's interesting because, you know, one of the characters, played by Brian Cox, obviously he plays the senior patriarch of the family and the, you know, the owner of the business and stuff like that. But in the last episode I watched, he gets a UTI, which is a urinary tract infection. And apparently when you get those and you're a senior person, they make you crazy. And this is true. I know this for a fact because, you know, we've had family members, you and me, John, have had UTIs and just gone a little loopy for a day or so before they get medicated, right? And I just thought it was an interesting, you know, twist on aging and getting sick and things like that, right? So
this wasn't like RFK's worm in the brain story we got this week?
Yeah, that was a great story. I just saw that one today. Like is that why he said don't take injections? He had a worm in his brain or something?
Yes.
He ate half of his brain and then died.
I'm sure he's got a conspiracy theory for it. He seems to have one for everything.
Yeah.
Not to get too politics on here on
political.
podcast, but yeah.
Well, apparently the lady that was running against Trump got 20% of the votes the other day, even though she's left the election years ago or weeks ago. Anyway, on that happy note, I guess that's it for another week. So, hey, Jonathan, if people want to get in touch with you, where would they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as @JPKNews or on YouTube at youtube.com/@JPK.
And Jaime, if people, let me guess, Mastodon? No. Instagram? No. Where is it again, Jaime? I always forget where they can find you.
I'm on Twitter as @DevWithAHair.
It's funny, Jonathan. We always joke about the how's it going at the very beginning. We should make like an episode of him saying how's it going. We've 381 episodes of Spot or More Than Just Code, and this is now 192 episodes of Spotcast. I'm pretty sure if I put together a deep cut, I could just take him saying that once and just loop it. It would be less work than it. And he also says the Dev with the Hair on Twitter as well. Twitter? Did you say Twitter? You did say Twitter.
I do say Twitter. I do know that even Mr. Elon Musk himself has to say X, formerly Twitter, which is bananas. Like that should be the hint that you made the wrong move. But if I say X, nobody's really, the people who are in the know are going to be in the know, sure. But if I also say Twitter, not only is it helping the people who aren't in the know, but the people who are in the know, they also know.
See, this is the funny thing about the difference between Canada and the United States is the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the megaphone of Canadian news and what. I'm sure the Star readers and Globe and Mail readers don't get on my case, but they now just refer to it as X.
Okay, it's been long enough, huh?
It's been long enough. They've given up the fight. They've folded their cards.
Just steering into the skid and just go with it.
Well, that's what we do. And when the roads get icy, we steer into the skid, don't we, John?
That's it.
All right. My name is Timitra, TIMMITRA on the Twitter machine, and that's where you'll find me. And actually, before we go, I was watching. I finally get around to watching the Law and Order Toronto. It's on at the same time as we record this show. But last week I watched a little bit of it, and of course it was somebody who died on a hockey rink.
Of course it was.
Anyway, on that happy note,
were they eating poutine and wearing mucklucks at the time?
I don't know. I gotta go and see if all the because one of the actresses is from Schitt's Creek, right? Yep.
I recognize her. She was the woman.
She's that girl, woman, that lady. She's in,
Yeah, the black woman who works at City Hall. Yeah.
She's the deputy, the police chief or something. I don't know. She's high up. Yeah. But I got to check and see if because I was trying to watch it today, see if I could hear any Canadian accents. I guess we'd have to get someone like Jaime to watch it and tell us. So no, because when I hear a Canadian accent, I don't hear it. You know what I mean? Like I have to really listen for it. But Jaime, is that show on in the United States? That version of, or is it only local to us? Because they used to have a Law and Order UK as well, right? Jamie Bamber from Battlestar Galactica, and the other dude that was his partner was an ex-companion on Doctor Who. Yeah. So
I'm honestly not sure. There's so many of those kinds of shows and procedurals, and they bring characters back. So I don't know. In the Law and Order SVU, Special Victims. No, I guess that's SVU. CSI Miami, Vegas, Hawaii. There's just so many of these that if they threw in a Toronto one in there or something, I may not notice as I'm flipping by on the channels. But I do think there is a thing about the accents, though. I could definitely hear it in something like that for sure. Kim's Convenience, other shows that'll hear the sorry is the easiest one, or if they have a process or property kind of thing.
Right. Cool. Well, until next time, we'll see you in the future. Bye.
You've been listening to the Spotcast podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. You can get in touch with us on the website or follow us on Twitter at Spotcast. If you have feedback or questions, send us a tweet with the hashtag AskSpotcast. If you like the show, Please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/Spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
They had the guy who did the dun-dun sound, right?
Did you see, Tim? So they've been making announcements for Fan Expo for this upcoming summer's Fan Expo.
Yeah.
And last week they were like, "Hey, we're gonna start announcing some cool new guests. Hope you like Star Wars." And people were like, "Oh, let's see who it's going to be." And so they were announcing guests. And the first person they announced for this round of Star Wars guests was the woman who got fired from Star Wars, Gina Carano.
Oh, yeah?
She was the one who was a vaccine denier and was comparing the plight of conservative people in the United States to Holocaust victims, which is not what you want. So she was announced as this first Star Wars guest, and the social media for Fan Expo went bananas.
Really?
Because,
nice.
It was literally like Jaime's grab a bag of popcorn time, because people were on there. More than half the people were like, the best part of the Fan Expo event is that it's very inclusive,
right? That
it's very, open, and people like it there, and it can be, again, like as somebody who has a trans daughter, I like that. I feel safe with her there. And then the other percentage of people that were on there were like, "Shut up, you snowflakes, leave her alone. She's a great actress," which is debatable. And she speaks her mind, and she should be allowed to say whatever she wants, and blah, blah, blah. And so they posted it obviously across all their socials, on their Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Each one was just a series of like back and forth nastiness, which like we don't get as much of that divisiveness in Canada as certainly as our neighbors do, but it's certainly here. But oh my God, it just went off last week.
Yeah, did the organizers back down and say, okay, we've heard your concerns, and to replace her, we've got the original Icheb actor. Come on down. This is what you all wanted, right? Look, we got Icheb.
There were people on here who were saying things like, who are you going to bring in next? Kevin Sorbo? Mel Gibson? Like, okay, all right, calm down.
What's wrong with Kevin Sorbo? Wait, what?
He's also a very outspoken conservative person. Yes. But then there was a comment from Fan Expo that was basically like, it was a link to their code of conduct page, and it was just basically this boilerplate statement that was like, every year the show connects fans with their favorite celebrities, and we try and bring a cross section of blend that unites us in our fandom, and blah blah blah. So it was not a satisfying response from them, and basically saying like, well, we expect people to be nice. Now, I don't know if this is true. This was only in the comments, but I'm told that she did appear at another, it was another Fan Expo event or another comic event in the not distant past. And apparently there were some protesters outside who were like, hey, this is not okay. But she also apparently had a lineup of dozens and dozens of people who wanted to get her autograph. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this kind of stuff. I certainly don't have any respect for this person. I'm glad that she's no longer affiliated with, the properties that I enjoy. And, but that's my political, sociological, ideological views. But,
like your opinion, man. Yeah.
Well, that's it, right? And it's worth about as much as the dudes, you know? Like, I'm not going to go and get her autograph, but then I wasn't probably going to go get anyone's autograph. So whatever. But also, I don't like the fact that there is bringing people out of the woodwork who are like, I want to see her because she's an outspoken conservative, you know, idealist and you know, mouthpiece and stuff like that. That's what kind of makes me.
Is that her only claim to fame? She used to be a wrestler, though, right?
She was MMA fighter, I believe.
Oh, MMA, okay.
But yeah, it's unusual to see these things sort of, you know, creep in. But I think it comes back to the big ongoing underlying theme of this podcast, which we've had, which is, you know, can you love the art and hate the artist?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to never watch season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian again, and she's in it and she's fine. I didn't think she was like special, but she's, you know, she definitely brought a presence to the role, and she was fine.
Yeah.
You know, shooting off her mouth cost her a show. They were going to do a spinoff with her as the lead, and then they decided to pull the plug on that because they didn't want her ideology and views to be mixed in with something they were trying to market. But
yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, like, well, I mean, like you can go. I mean, let's look at two of the biggest artists of the 20th century, Picasso and Dali. Both of them were scoundrels, and
oh yeah,
you know, then
Picasso's a well-known misogynist, right?
Yeah, and then Andy Warhol had his own sort of weirdness too, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, Woody Allen and right?
Well, and Woody Allen's another good example too. That doesn't mean that I don't still love some of his movies, right? So even though I don't like the guy, right? And and I don't think I would watch any of his later movies like without taking that into consideration, right? Anyway, but so coming back to what I was talking about before, was Mike Post is the name of the musician who. He was part of the Wrecking Crew and actually played guitar on I Got You, Babe. But he's the guy who did the dun-dun sound on Law and Order, as well as producing Van Halen 3 and Classical Gas, you know, the song by famous. And he also discovered Kenny Rogers. So, yeah, he's a big time, you know, session musician, composer, that kind of stuff. But he was just on Q a couple of weeks ago. So that was interesting discussion.
Mm-hmm. You saw the tributes this week. Steve Albini died yesterday.
Oh yeah. Steve Albini too. Yeah, he was a really interesting guy. I mean, like apparently he produced the first Pixies album, and that is what why Kurt Cobain hired him.
Yeah, he was involved with a lot of bands of that era that, you know, whether he was officially or unofficially working on that stuff, it was pretty interesting. I saw a list somebody published on social the other day of just all the different albums and songs and artists that he worked with, and you're like, holy moly, like this was a very influential person.
Yeah, and he said he wanted to get paid like a plumber. He didn't want like a piece of the action and all that kind of stuff. He just wanted to come and do his job, and like, yeah, I mean, and I think the comment I saw was that he didn't think he was cool, and it didn't really matter if you were or not, right? So
yeah, in the Fan Expo announcements section. The only other one I saw that I thought you might be interested in, Tim, is Don Bluth is coming.
Artist?
Yeah, the artist animator.
Yeah, Secret of Nim?
Yeah.
Right.
And American Tail and Land Before Time, and yeah.
Fido, Fievel Goes West.
That's the one.
Or as Sarah wrote on the VHS, Fievel Goes West.
I'm the ones I'm most excited about are Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche are going to be that's Pinky and the Brain.
Cool. That's the name of my 2 dogs.
Pinky and the Brain. Yeah. Which one of your dogs is the Brain?
It's always the smaller one. It used to be the cat. Now it's the Hey, go over there and pull that down. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
No, it was Carol had put chicken breasts in the sink, right? Like, you know, you got like a counter, which is like 30 inches off the ground, and a sink, which is like 10 inches below, like down below that, right? The cat climbed into the sink, started eating one of the chicken breasts, and flipped it over the top of the sink and gave it to the dog.
To throw him under the bus?
Yeah. So the dog would get in trouble, right?
He did it. It was all him.
Yep.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, and Sorsha is a real counter surfer, right? So yeah, if you want, we don't have to worry about shredding paper anymore. Just leave it around, and she'll shred it for us. And she's always like grabbing food off the counter and stuff. So
Oh, that sounds like fun. We're going to go meet our puppy on Saturday. We're very excited about this. But it doesn't come home for another 4 weeks after that. Still halfway to coming home. But excited,
do you know which one you got?
No. So apparently the way this breeder works is they're gonna there's
release the hounds.
There's a litter of 10.
Yeah.
There's 6 females and 4 males. We've asked for a male.
Right.
And so basically we get to like meet all the puppies and then spend some time with the 4 boys. And then they are, I guess, going to be wearing like colored, collars. And then we will basically say, well, these are the 2 that we think would be the best fit for us. And then they'll do some temperament testing and then they'll let us know which one they think is the better fit for what we're looking for. So you kind of get a chance to pick your dog, but we keep joking that it's like the doggy bachelor we're going on this weekend where we're like, giving roses like, oh, you've been selected for the next round and sorry, 2 of you are going to have to go home. But yeah, it's a little weird, but
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently it's Mother's Day on Sunday, I guess.
Yes. I understand you're coming to visit us on Sunday.
Oh, and the other big news is my talk apparently has been selected for One More Thing conference in San Jose in June.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so don't know what that means, but I have to get a confirmed answer from them and then book a flight. Because
does this mean they have to let you into WWDC now?
No, it's a satellite conference.
Please, I'm here anyways. Let me in.
Official. Yeah, well, that could happen. You never know. But there is the rumored bunch of pocket invites that they have that they just dole out at the last minute or to certain people, right? Like they always claim, like people have a lot of theories about it. I do seriously believe it's a random lottery, but there conveniently does seem to be, like, I think when people win awards and stuff like that, they obviously have tickets for those people, right? So they can be on the stage. And because I know some people who won ADA awards in the past and they were on the stage to receive them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they must know that they're in the running or something, or they've been nominated or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. You think?
Yeah. So Jaime, you should nominate Device Tracker. What do you think? Or Joblog.
There you go. If you get to throw a link, and then wait, what do I have to do the nomination? Does it just fill out a form?
Yeah, I thought it was like you nominate people to win the awards, right? The way I thought it worked. Anyway.
So do we have any further thoughts on what we want to do about the Who?
The Doctor Who?
The Doctor Who?
Well, we just add it to the next week, I guess, right?
Yeah. So next week we'll throw in episode 1 behind the truck.
Sure. What happened with those tickets? Did you decide what to do with them?
I can't sell them. It won't let me do it. It'll only let me transfer them. Okay. I can't do the resale on platforms.
Well, if you get stuck with them, I guess I could go.
Oh, you poor soul.
Is it next Friday? Or Friday?
Next Friday. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because initially I had bought 2 tickets so that Sherry and I can go. So they're good. They're like 4th row center. Oh, wow. I had bought good seats because I was going to give those to her for Christmas.
Yeah, he's the guy that's been on Netflix and he hosted Saturday Night Live and.
Yeah, he's great. Mike's great.
A friend of mine really likes him. That's the one I was telling you about, but he's going to be out of town, right? And
I bought the tickets and was going to take her, and then as I was thinking about it because I had taken the kids to a couple of comedy shows. We'd taken them to see Jim Gaffigan and Patton Oswalt and some other ones. I thought, you know what, they probably would enjoy this. I should probably just get 4. So I bought 4 tickets for the next day because I couldn't get for the same show, and so I was like, I'll just do that, and then I'll sell the other 2. But now I can't sell the other 2. So
I'll if you can't get rid of it, I'll definitely go because I do like the guy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask my sister if she's going to be around.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a date, good luck. But let me know.
I don't mind having a date with my coat, too. That's another thing.
That's fine, too.
Because the last 2 concerts I went to, she stiffed me. But, yeah. And then what was I going to ask you? It's gone. It'll come back. But
if only there was a way for us to stay in touch when we weren't doing podcasts.
Yeah. Well, you're here now. Oh, no. It's show related. The hell was that thought I was having? Talking about Mike Birbiglia concerts. I'll remember like 2 minutes after we get off the call, right?
Probably.
I'm trying to do too many things at once.
I have a CD here for you as well, by the way.
Do you?
In the mail I got for purchasing tickets to go see Neil Young.
Mr. Young.
Got Neil Young's 2 copies of Neil Young's new CD sent to me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I bought mine from a scalper and I paid way too much money for them.
Yeah.
It turned out that the service charges were like, oh, nice for you guys, right?
Yeah, that's usually how that goes.
Yeah. That's coming up on the 20th. I gave them to Indira Malcolm, and they do look a little suspect because they're. So did you get a ticket, or did you get like a URL link with an electronic ticket? Or
mine are inside my ticket. Mine are through Ticketmaster, so they just pop up as like on the Ticketmaster app. With
that's what they're supposed to be, right? And so I emailed the people I bought them from and said, hey, what is this? And they said, yeah, that's the only link you get. I'm like, okay, this better work.
Yeah. Well, on the bright side, you're going whenever.
Sorry?
Said on the bright side, you're still going.
Yeah, no. I'm just concerned about the money I spent and whether my sister will be able to get into the show or not, right? So, alrighty.
All right. Talk next week.
Time. LA Bazoom.
Till next time.
Oh, no, you're not here next week, right?
Yeah,
I will not be here next week if we're doing things on Thursday. If you're doing a different day, let me know. But Thursday, I will not be here.
Alrighty then.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye. Later. Bye.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.